Well, welcome to our next Intersections interview, and I'm here with Moniqa Paullet. Hi, Moniqa.
Hi.
Thanks for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm just going to jump right into the questions. First of all, you identify as bisexual. What's that identity mean to you?
The technical definition I use is I'm attracted to people of genders both like and unlike my own. It doesn't mean just men or just women. I'm attracted to lots of people, but maybe not necessarily all genders.
Okay. And you also identify as female and as a woman.
Right.
What does that mean to you?
That's a tough one. I feel like female is so much just a scientific designation for animals. So I identify as woman. It's very much kind of a social, political, feminist use of the word. The semantics matter because it's so often that we hear people refer to adult women as girls, and it lessens them. So I make a point of using the word woman when appropriate, and not sure how to describe more thoroughly what that means in terms of my gender identity. Just probably what you assume when you hear the word woman.
Right. Yeah. And I guess I kind of glossed over it. You actually were assigned female at birth.
Right.
That's why you say so. That's what you meant by it's the technical scientific,
yeah,
or the female gene, so to speak, and then woman as your identification. Okay.
As a person rather than
as a person.
DNA
Okay.
or whatever.
Yeah. And then you indicated that you're demisexual and a questioning demi/gray romantic. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Sure. Demisexual means that I don't feel sexual attraction toward anyone unless I have an established connection with them. It's not just a preference of wanting to get to know someone better before getting physical. It's really, I don't feel that attraction. I don't feel those desires unless I've gotten to know a person over time.
Okay.
It makes dating a little bit frustrating. And then the questioning demi-romantic is, I'm not sure that I'm necessarily romantically inclined or desire romantic partnerships or relationships. I don't have those feelings strongly or often toward anyone.
Yeah. So that's interesting. So you, for the sexual attraction, you need to have like to get to know the person and know them as a person, but it's not necessarily a romantic attraction that goes with that getting to know them.
Right.
Is that right? Okay.
Okay. And it might be, I view, there's so many different ways to review relationships with people. I feel like the friends closeness is sort of the ultimate for me.
Okay.
Even within dating relationships, I have more of that friends feeling than that romance, I guess.
Okay. Okay. And then you're single, you're dating, and you're also practicing ethical non-monogamy.
Right.
And then you said you would consider incidental monogamy. So can you kind of break that down as to what that means to you?
A lot of people I know prefer the term polyamory, but because I'm that questioning demi-romantic, I don't know that the amory part, the romantic relationship part, necessarily applies to me. But ethical non-monogamy does. This means that I engage in relationships with the full knowledge and consent of everyone I might be dating, and they know I'm seeing other people or having sex with other people or dating around or whatever it is, and everybody agrees that this is okay and we're honest about it. Okay. That's the ethical part of non-monogamy, and I don't require exclusivity from my relationships. And remind me, what's the second half? Incidental
We would
non-monogamy.
consider incidental monogamy.
Right. So what that means is that I would not necessarily pursue a monogamous relationship. I wouldn't necessarily say to someone, hey, let's be exclusive. I just want you in my life. But it happens sometimes that I end up being just with one person for a while and hadn't happened to have met anyone else at the time. So it's incidentally but not intentionally monogamous, and I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. I like that. Incidental but not intentional. That's
right.
If it just happens, it happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're be honest about each other. So if someone new comes into the picture or interest, the option is there.
Right. So it could change from a monogamous back to a non-monogamous relationship. Right. Okay.
It's sort of it's the same idea as if a woman is dating, if a bisexual woman is dating a man, she isn't no longer bisexual. So just because a non-monogamous person is in an incidentally monogamous relationship for the time, that doesn't necessarily change their relationship orientation or preferences.
Right. Exactly. Okay. And so how did you reach the point where you realized that this is how you were?
For relationships, or which part?
Just in general, kind of your journey to reach the point as a bisexual woman who's an ethical, non-monogamous, demi-romantic.
Okay.
Now you'll find out that there's usually not a one. It's not like
no, it's different stages.
One thing, it all kind of integrates together.
Sure. I was raised Catholic, and anything other than heteronormativity was never an option. Like, I never thought of it as a kid, never considered it until high school, when a very, very close friend came out as gay, and it sort of flipped a switch, I guess, and allowed me to begin questioning my own sexual orientation, because I just had never thought about it, didn't really know. And so about the time when I was 17, 18, I realized that I was bisexual, also attracted to women, and was pretty certain about it. Right at, I guess that would be end of high school, beginning of college-ish. And for the non-monogamy part, was later in high school, I found myself in a relationship that was really undefined entirely. I had a friend I was very close with, and we spent a lot of time together, and we had sex, and we saw other people and were honest about it and encouraged one another. We'd give one another a high five, like, good job. And it was all very positive. And it was a little funny because our friends were always pushing us to, make it official, be boyfriend, girlfriend. But we were happy with what we had and didn't feel that drive. And sorry, roommate's making noise in the background.
Okay.
And so this actually went on for several years, even as we moved to different parts of the country. I lived overseas for a while, and we saw other people, and we kept getting back together again. And again, still never really defined it. But after that, was that he moved across the country, and as I got into another relationship, right about that same time, I met a new group of people who introduced me to the word polyamory. I'm like, oh, so that's a thing. There's a word for it. And for a while, I was using the term polyamory because I had just learned there's a term. But within the last 2 years or so, my relationships have been different. I've learned more about myself, and I feel that ethical non-monogamy is more accurate, because I found out that I don't necessarily want, for certain, a super long-term involved committed relationship with anyone, or any multiple people even. So I'm not sure about that. And at the same time, again, within about the last 6 months or a year, definitely figured out the demisexual part by reading some resources online and listening to others' experiences. And often it's misunderstood as someone's just their preference to get to know someone before getting involved. But I realized for me, it's not a choice, that even if someone is physically attractive, and even if I want to, like, if I want to do stuff, but I don't necessarily feel a sexual attraction to a person unless I get to know them. And that seemed to fit best with the definitions of demisexual that I'd read and experiences from others. And shortly after that, the demi-romantic questioning part followed. Still working on that.
Right. So it sounds like the journey continues to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I find out that the terms are great when you find out there's a word for that, but then sometimes it's like, well, that word is great, but I don't know if it's quite right there. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, and I just want to go through some of the things that how this all affects your life. So it's just for all of this is just kind of how does your sexuality, your gender, your relationship orientations, how do they affect you in different areas? So first, just how do they affect you socially?
Socially, okay. It's the non-monogamy part plays a big part in the types of friends I end up attracting. Usually it's often going to be similar-minded people, or at least people who are open to that. I don't end up meeting or spending time with a lot of very socially or conservative people, for lack of a better word, who are very believe strongly in traditional relationship stuff. And let's see. Beyond that, I'm not really sure. Sometimes, no, I think that's about it for socially.
Okay. How about legally? Has there been any kind of effect from that on you, or?
There has not. For a while, I was in a non-monogamous relationship where we had discussed finding legal ways to include me in my partner's will or legal designations and stuff, but we broke up before we ended moving forward on that.
Okay.
And sometimes I work in an at-will state, so sometimes I worry about it with my job, because sexuality is not a protected status here, and honestly, they could, and I'm in a conservative field, honestly, they could fire me for it, or for no reason at all.
Right.
So I worry about it, but it hasn't actually been a problem.
Okay. And since you brought that up, how about professionally? Has it had an impact on you?
So I have a very few coworkers I would call friends also, and they've actually been supportive when I've mentioned that I'm bisexual. That I came out, I think, 2 years ago on Facebook, and one of them saw it and approached me at work the next day, and she said, "Thank you so much. I'm so inspired. That was very brave." And she's been very supportive. But beyond that, I don't socialize a whole lot with coworkers or talk about it, because conservative field, and I like my job.
Right. Understand. How about medically? Has there been anything impact on that for you?
Let's see. Yeah, I can think of a few examples. So when I see my OB-GYN for my yearly stuff and my regular STI testing, I have to make a point of letting them know that yes, I have relationships with both men and women, and that I've had doctors who kind of gloss over it, and they speak to me still as if I only have relationships with men, and the advice they give or about safer sex practices and such really only covers condoms. So they're very entrenched in heteronormative assumptions. My current doctor, however, has been pretty supportive and about that sort of thing. So there's a few medical considerations for safer sex practices. And additionally, I had a therapist at one point who I was seeing after some personal stress and wanted to work on this, getting over this event in my life that was happening at the time. But she focused in on my bisexuality and started challenging me on it and asking, when is the first time you knew you felt a sexual attraction for a woman or daydreamed about, or like these very specific examples that I didn't ever have, because it was kind of a gradual process. Like I said, I was raised in a way that it was never a consideration or an option. So and that was really upsetting that my therapist was challenging my sexuality. That was definitely not helpful. I ended up ending that relationship shortly after that with my therapist. Yeah.
How about spiritually? I know you talked about your Catholic upbringing, but has it affected you spiritually in other ways?
I think it was my bisexuality is very probably one of the reasons I left the church. There were, so about the same time I found out I was bisexual, then I left home for college, and I tried attending church with a new friend I met there, and I realized attending a different church that I had only been going for so many years to see my friends. And I realized that I'd only believed the things I'd been taught all my life, but not really thought about or examined it. And of course, when my friend had come out as gay in high school, that was a really tough time trying to reconcile what the religion had taught, that my friend, this beautiful, amazing person who was so sweet to everyone, is a sinner who's going to hell and God hate. I can't believe in a God that's going to hate this amazing person for that sort of thing. And in the same way, so lots of little things about church dogma just didn't work for me, and I left the religion. Now I'm sort of atheist. I'll allow that maybe there is a God, but we don't know, and I'm not going to believe in a God that's going to condemn good people for just being and for treating others nicely,
Absolutely. Okay, and how about in your families, and families defined however you define that?
It was a decade before I came out to my family as bisexual. Because my stepmother's been in my life since I was 6, so she's really another parent to me, and it's a long time, a close relationship. But she said some disparaging things about lesbians specifically, very random stuff in conversation. And growing up, out of nowhere, she'd say stuff like, wishing she'd had a gay kid so she could be the cool mom on the block. And I said to myself inside that I would never ever give her the satisfaction of knowing or coming out. And I held to that for a very long time, until about 2 years ago, I felt that it was important to come out publicly as bisexual and to tell my family. I thought about it for a long time. For a couple of years, I kept thinking about coming out on National Coming Out Day, but I wasn't ready, or I was still scared. But I was finally at a place where I'm a relatively privileged person, and it's important for me that if my speaking out can help someone else, then I want to do that. And when I did come out, my family mostly was very supportive. My mom especially. She's just like, oh, always, I love you. You're my wonderful daughter. My stepmom, though, made a remark to the effect, well, I hope you weren't worried about us, because we don't care about her and my dad. And it was very dismissive. And I had worried about her. That was the only person I had worried about saying something. So I know she cares for me, and I think she was trying to be supportive, but it was a dismissive way to go about it. And in a later conversation related to the same topic, what did she say? She said again, oh, I always wanted to have a queer kid. I'm like, really? Because that means you've always wanted to have a kid who's marginalized in so many ways, who has such a higher, these populations have such a higher incidence of rape and sexual assault and drug abuse and depression and suicide. I'm like, I didn't say that to her. These are things I'm thinking. You've always wanted that for me. So that's been a little bit frustrating. But otherwise, my family, it's been good. My friends, my chosen family have always been very supportive.
Very cool. Very cool. In any other areas of your life that have been affected by your sexuality, gender, relationship orientations?
I touched briefly before the sort of dating aspect, the being demisexual makes that difficult because most people I encounter know immediately whether they're attracted to me, but it takes time. Several dates and time of getting to know someone before I even really know. Like, I have initial interest. Hey, we have mutual hobbies, so let's talk, right? But just by looking at a person, or even by meeting them in person, there's not an immediate spark like they describe, and so it's made it difficult to date because others move at a different pace or function in a different way than I do.
Is there a mismatched expectations that come up on that?
Yeah, I feel like that happens, and especially being tied into that, being bisexual, people assume that I'm down for sex or threesomes or whatever with anybody at any time. There's that stereotypical assumption about bisexual women is being hypersexual. And there's nothing wrong with folks who are, of course, but treating someone out of the gate like you assume you know this about them it's been rude. Of course, I and many others experience couples approaching me as if I'm a sex toy, So it's been tough.
Yeah, I bet. Is there anything else that I didn't ask about or we didn't cover that you wanted to touch on, or?
Yeah, maybe back to the idea of how my sexuality affects my social life and the challenges with coming out. I had told my very best friend when I was 17 or 18 that when I was figuring out for certain that I'm bisexual, I came out to her and she recoiled in horror and said, just so you know, I'm not interested. I was so hurt. I wasn't interested in her that way. I hadn't implied it at all. I just wanted to confide in my best friend and tell her this aspect about me that I was learning. So that was hurtful, and that was also part of why I didn't come out publicly again for so long. And it's just something for people to be aware of. Don't assume that someone's confiding in you because they're interested in you. It's maybe they just need some support. It's not about the other person.
Yeah, that's very true. All right. Well, thank you again, Moniqa, for taking the time. This has been great. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
And we'll see you later.
Great. Have a good one.
Hey, this is Mike. Thanks for watching. If you'd like to see some more videos, we'll be getting them out onto our YouTube channel, and you can also check them out on the Facebook page and our website, intersections.info. If you'd like to be interviewed, there's a link below that'll show you how to go through the process and get in touch with us so we can interview you. If you'd like to help support us financially, we do have a Patreon campaign set up. If you contribute monthly at the bronze level or higher, we'll give you early access to all the videos about 24 hours before everybody else gets to see them, plus some private chats and things like that that are available. So check that out. And if you'd like to just make a one-time contribution, we do have a GoFundMe campaign that's out there to try to get some better equipment, things like that. So check us out and let us know what you think in the comments, and appreciate it. Thanks.